the forum for the Harrisonville Board of Aldermen positions. We're going to review the rules again just in case someone wasn't here, and then we'll get started. We do have to leave the building at 9 o'clock, so we're going to go for an hour, and then that'll give us 15 minutes to jump up and run. So we'll try to stay on schedule. Again, we're going to do a 1-hour session. We'll start by giving each candidate the 1 minute to introduce him or herself. Then we'll have the questions compiled by the Chamber Candidate Forum Committee, and Cheryl Bush will be presenting the questions this evening. Each candidate will be given a minute and a half to respond, and Linda from the Chamber is going to be here with her flashcards. At 1 minute, she'll flash the orange card for caution, I guess, and at a minute and a half, she'll give you the red signal. If you don't see it, I'll try to be watching too, and when I step back up to the podium, we'll let you know it's time to stop. Again, we want you to take all the time to answer your question in that minute and a half, but if you are able to answer it in less time, that's fine. We'll save more time to move on to maybe another question. And we do ask that you stay on topic and not answer the question and branch into something else. If we do come up with an issue that requires a rebuttal and something you want to, you've already spoken, then I'll be happy. Just raise a hand, get my attention, and we'll try to find you some time to do that. Again, for the audience, I don't know that we have anyone new, but we're trying to hold our applause and any commotion from the audience to an absolute minimum so we can move right along. And then at the end of the questioning, we'll give each candidate 30 seconds for summation. Okay, for the Board of Aldermen, the city has 4 wards, and 1 person will be elected from each ward. 2 candidates are running for each position. In alphabetical order, they are Ward 1, Brad Bockelman and Doug Meyer. Ward 2, Morris Coburn and Judy Reese. Ward 3, David Dickerson and Scott Emmons. And Ward 4, Mike Adair and Matt Turner. Now, Matt Turner is, I've heard, is at a planning and zoning board meeting this evening, and he knows that he's trying to get out of that meeting and get here later. So if he comes in late, we'll know why he was late. He'll slip right into the end of the table, and we'll just include him as we go on. So if there's no other questions, then we will start with our 1 minute introduction. We'll start on this end.
This is it on? There we go. Not like being first. Good evening. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, for taking time out of your schedule to become a more informed voter. Unfortunately, the percentage versus the Harrisonville population, we're still a small group here, but I do appreciate you coming out. My name is Doug Meyer, Ward 1 Alderman candidate. Moved to town in 2003. We chose to live here. The school district is what drew us. We had a young son who was finishing up school. That's why we came to town. We also looked at town and thought there's a lot of possibility here, a lot of good small town values, a lot of good people, a lot of future potential. Been involved in the community. I took a year or so off, did jump right back in, but probably 2005, 2006, got involved with chamber activities, got involved with several different committees around town. Decided, I believe in 2010, it was time to maybe get back into the running for alderman. I served a term as Ward 1 alderman for 4 years, and then took a year off, and decided it's time to get back and try and give back to the community. I've always waited.
Thanks for showing up, and I hope you don't mind if I don't use the mic, because I was in the Navy, and when you're a bosun, you learn how to project your voice. My name's Morris Coburn, aka Rooster. The rooster that you see is our family crest, and the crest comes from Scotland, and the rooster stands for the resurrection. So be that, I'm currently in Ward 2 Alderman. I'm up for re-election, And I would sure appreciate everyone's vote come April 5th. And if you don't vote for me, vote. I mean, it's the main thing is to get out and be heard. We had a large turnout this last election, the primary, bigger turnout, but we can still do better, and I think everyone needs to get out and vote.
Are we on? Yes. I'm Judy Reese, and I'm also running in Ward 2. I came to Harrisonville when I was a small child, spent my whole life here, graduated from Harrisonville High School, had 3 children who graduated from Harrisonville High School. My husband graduated from Harrisonville High School, and now I have grandchildren who have already graduated from and are in the process of. So we are wildcats through and through. Harrisonville has been our home, it is our background, it's in our hearts. We all feel very, very responsible for what happens to Harrisonville. Things that have happened in the past, things that should happen in the future. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is be right in there to help everyone. Thanks.
Hey, greetings, good evening, everyone. Very quickly, first of all, I'm going to say thank you to that group that was just up here. My importance pales in comparison to their responsibilities. I'm Scott Evans, and while I may not be typically defined by Chris's Titan of finance, I was a graduate of Harrisonville, lived in New York City, started a gig up there yelling and screaming at other people for some dollar signs, and traveled the world and had an opportunity to come back. Was actually on my way to California, so kind of failed there. But when you get to travel and you get to visit as many places as I have, you get to see a lot of things. And quite honestly, Chris is right. It's a fantastic place. You can't beat it. And I think Chris and the people that were up here, we are involved. All of us are involved. What you see up here are people that need to be involved with the people like Chris, with the people like Nancy, Gina, and Ms. Graff. It's very important. We're all in this together. Thank you.
My name is David Dickerson. I'm an alderman for Ward 3, and I'm retired from the Kansas City Star. I have other business in Kansas City, and Harrisonville is in my home. I was born and raised here, and my mom lives here. It's just her and I left in my family. Oh, and my brother. That's all's left in our family. And I don't know what else to say. Thanks for having me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Adair, and I was born and raised in the Harrisonville area. My grandparents have owned businesses in this community for many, many years, and my parents have owned businesses in this community for many years, and they've worked in this community their whole lives. And I graduated in 1999 from Harrisonville High School, and I took a stance and wanted to become a law enforcement officer. So I went to the Blue River Police Academy, and I took the 855 class, which is the highest law enforcement class that you can possibly get, which is a Class A. And then I served for 14 years in law enforcement before having to medically retire. I felt like I had some unfinished business left, and so I felt like I could still serve my community just in a different venue. And so this is why I'm running, because I feel like I have unfinished business while still serving my community. I think I can do a better job than what I did before because I can take a higher stance in the community and better serve it. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you. And Cheryl, the first question, and we'll start with Judy.
It has been said that certain builders, commercial and residential, refuse to build in Harrisonville. What can the city do to improve its image and attract new construction?
It's a little hard. Whoops. Back up. It's a little hard to speak to things that have been done in the past when you haven't really been there. And so what I have to go on is what I want to do in the future. If in truth it has been difficult, then we need to remedy that. We need to stop any kind of negativity for those people coming in. We need to welcome them with open arms. We need to do things, anything that we can do to assist these people to bring in, because if we want Harrisonville to grow, we have to have people to help us. We bring these people in, we're going to have better paying jobs, we're going to have taxes coming from those places to help our schools and our hospitals and everything else. And so basically I just have to say, we have to work really hard to get these folks in.
Would you repeat the question, please?
It has been said that certain builders, commercial and residential, refuse to build in Harrisonville. What can the city do to improve its image and attract new construction?
That's kind of a hard question, but if you sit down and you look at it, and from my past experience, we've had a lot of people that haven't been made to feel comfortable. We've got a case down on the square just recently, and I'm quite proud of the board. We, on the installation fees, we have done away with those on the square. The people there at that one building, would have cost them $35,000 to hook up the electricity, and they just couldn't do it because they're having to do a lot of structural work on that building. And it's this with the square and things like that that I think I see some improvements. And it's the fact that we've got to become user-friendly. There's times that with our present building codes and the way we act, I don't think we're really user-friendly. And as soon as we get ourselves user-friendly, I think we're going to be able to see a big change, and we can't continue to give away the money for the future in all these other funds.
I think one of the first things we need to do is contact those builders, contact those construction people, try and get together with them and find out what are the issues. We may think we know what the issues are, but until we ask them specifically, we may be guessing. I know the current board has done some things to try and revitalize the square, and that's a positive step. When I was on the board, we had put a moratorium in place on the home connections. The 25 houses, we allowed that fee to be waived. I think to date, 18 of those have been taken advantage of. So there is some progress there. The other group probably to engage would be the realtors. They work with builders in town, they work with home construction people. What are they hearing? We need to get a group together. Again, research what those topics are, ask the questions. Unless we ask, we're not going to know for sure.
Well, I think Doug made a valid point, and the question is relevant, and it is a concerning question, because we need to establish a broader tax base. Right? Part of the deal that Doug talked about just happened the other night when we lowered our impact fees. We've established a much broader flexibility for dealing with people. We seem to be on a path for establishing much broader communications. It's about connecting the dots. And we have, I think, are on a path for enabling all of us to sit down and have open-ended discussions to what dots are out there and how we need to connect them, and then taking that communication forward. It's an important, it's a relevant topic. It has jurisprudence for a number of opportunities that we need to take advantage of. And we can't do that unless we start to look at things as dots. We start building maps to connect those dots. And part of this is going back, as Doug said, going back to the builders, going back to the realtors, just being open to their grievances, criticisms, constructive comments, and then going forward. Thanks.
Larry, what you're speaking to.
Well, some of the problems we're having is with how we enforce our codes for new people to come into town. And some of it is the way that our planning is done. We're just building a new senior development over here on the north of this building. And the lady was having trouble locating the street that made, the way the city had it laid out, they wanted her to have people running back and forth across the street to their garage. And that's not feasible for elderly people to be doing that. So we had to sit down and, with the mayor's help, got Rick kind of on the right track and got that changed. And there's a lot of times that happens with builders that have come. The way that they want to do things that are platted out aren't the way the builders need it to be done. And so that is being addressed, but it's going to take a while. As far as the bad rap with the town, that's going to take a while to overcome.
They don't have to stand up.
That's their option, they can sit or stand either.
They're not as photogenic sitting down.
I have spoke with realtors, and I have spoke with contractors, and I have spoken with builders who want and who have worked in this community before. And the problem is that it is hard to start a business and keep it running within this community. If it's not support, then it's finances. And if it's not finances, then it's support, and they counteract each other. We lack communication from our administrators down to our relative businesses within our community. We need to support the businesses that are here. We need to speak with other businesses outside of our community, and we need to get them to come here, because this is a community where you can thrive. This is a community full of pride. This is a community that believes in itself, and we have to stand up and we have to bring those businesses back to this community. One way or another, we have to do that. Communication is going to be the biggest relative thing that we have to do. And I appreciate it.
Next question, we'll start with Scott.
If elected, will you vote the conscience, will you vote your conscience, or will you vote the will of your constituents? And how do you intend to seek input, opinion, and make yourself available to all of your constituents?
Well, for first, how's this, guys? So first of all, I'm the bike guy. So if you can't pull me over on my bike and talk to me, then you probably are afraid of me, and that I don't want. But it's a relevant question, and it's an excellent question, and it does make sense. How's this, guys?
Yes.
So the interesting part of it is that I've spent, and there's some people in this audience that already know about this, because I spent a lot of time listening to them. And I really enjoy that. And this first foray into this type of civic awareness has given me an opportunity to have people kind of say, I'd love to talk to you, and I have the ability to say, I would love to listen. So this has been an ongoing engagement with me, and I've really appreciated their time, and I've really appreciated their intelligence. The community is a very thoughtful community, and I think we saw that from the group that was here before us. It's a very thoughtful, it's a very insightful, and it's a very reflective community. When you have an opportunity to engage yourself in this type of process, you get a piece of that apple. And it's really, really, really cool. So yes, if you see a guy running around on a bike, trying to dodge everybody, that's me.
The bicycle. Well, obviously.
You're a sweetheart. But seriously, I do ride a bicycle, and I take it pretty seriously. It's part of my engagement with my environment. It's part of living in New York City. It's part of the value that I find, not only for myself, but for the people that surround me. It's available. I'm available. And anybody that wants to talk to me in Ward 3, they see me going to Sutherland's, they see me going to Price Chopper. It's pretty obvious that the bike guy is fairly consistent. And my listening ability is also fairly consistent. So I hope everybody keeps that in mind.
Well, I'm going to sit down for this. I have tried to make it a practice to always listen to my constituents of Ward 3 first. And then if I don't hear from them, I try to use my own judgment, what I would do if I was in their situation. it's hard a lot of times to make decisions when you have no guidelines. So you have to try to use your best judgment and hope that you're right. I make myself available. Anybody can call me. On all my literature I hand out, it's got my phone number on it. Anybody who wants to call me, they're more than welcome to do so. People have called me, and if there's something I can do for them, I do it. And I always try to return all the phone calls that I receive. And that's been my practice since I've been in office, is to make sure that I do the will of the people that elect me. And that's all I can do, you know.
Having served as a police officer for 14 years, I have to be approachable. You have to be able to come up and talk to me, and it's okay, and I want you to. And I will make myself available to anybody, anywhere, and however I can, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on telephone, whether you want to stop by the house, whether you want me to come by, I don't care what it is. If you want me to communicate with you, all you got to do is ask. And I want you to ask. I want to answer the tough questions. I want you to ask me how we can fix this problem and how we can fix it together.
If elected as alderman, it's not my agenda, it's your agenda. It's the citizens' agenda. It's what they want us to work on. It's what they want us to accomplish. Now, those of you that have watched me over the last 3 different campaigns, I go door to door. I try to get in front of everybody out there. I stand on your porch. I ask you the question, what's important to Harrisonville? And that's been the question this time around. What do you think is most important? I'm trying to gain a consensus from the citizens, because you're the ones that are putting me there. Unlike Scott, I don't ride a bicycle, but I walk. And I intend to continue to incorporate that. It's not uncommon to see me clear up on the square. For those of you who know where I live, that's quite a ways from my house. But I'll continue to do that in my ward especially. And don't be surprised if I just stop and knock on the door and say, okay, what do you hear? What's important now? It's important for me to continue that dialogue. Yes, there's Facebook. Yes, there's phones you can call. But getting face to face, being able to look me in the eye and say, Doug, what are you thinking on this topic? Or here's my opinion. Then I need to figure out, do I have the right information? Do I not have the right information? Do I have a question that I need to get clarification so I can come back to you and provide you with information? Again, it's that communication. It's being accessible to the citizens, listening to what they have to say, and acting accordingly. Again, it's not my agenda, it's yours.
Yes, I agree, it's your agenda. I'm representing all the people with primary interest in my ward. I've taken calls from a lot of people since I've been in office. I've spent a lot of time going out and looking at things before I went to City Hall to ask questions of why can't we correct this? And I'm going to continue to do that, even if I'm not elected, I'm going to be available to people, because I kind of feel I owe a commitment to my town. And it's all of the people. It isn't just a select few. And I think we've got ourselves in a problem by having a few people, a group that wants to control everything, and sometimes I don't think they're acting in the best interest of everyone. I have a financial background. I retired as an examiner, so when I look at things, I look at them a little bit different, and I think the financial responsibility is for all the people and not a select few, and I do not believe in carpetbaggers.
If I remember the question, it stated that if I have one opinion and my constituents in Ward 2 have a different opinion, which way am I going to vote? And that's a tough one. Because if you think yourself that you're right, and you have researched, and you're just darn sure that you're right, and you have all these people out there that say, lady, you're not right, and that's not what we want. And the bottom line is, you better go with your group, because that's who you're representing. You're not representing yourself, you're representing them. Now, don't mistake. I would try to convince them my way, just like they would try to convince me their way. And we would have to get together, we would have to communicate, we would have to go to the town hall meetings, we would have to have maybe some ads in the paper. There has to be communication between you and your group. I've spent the last 3 weeks, well, a little bit more than that, but pretty heavy the last 3 weeks, walking door to door to door. And the people in Ward 2 are very, very conscious of what's going on in Harrisonville, and they have definite opinions, and I would absolutely have to go with them.
What economic development tools do you support to recruit new businesses and retain current businesses?
David, you'll start, and we'll do it this way.
Well, I think one of the tools that can be used without too much pain is Chapter 100 for some businesses. It depends on which one it is, of course. That is that the company can come into Harrisonville and we put them under the umbrella of the city, and they can get all their tax breaks through the city. And that has worked. Walmart Distribution Center is one of those issues. When TIF projects came out, they were mainly for inner city. They weren't for Harrisonville. They were for like up on 27th and Prospect. That's where they belong. They have been exploited and used sometimes to the downfall of the communities. In a populated community that has 85 to 100,000 people, they work real good. But when you get smaller communities, the sales tax that supports them is not there always, and so that's why a lot of them struggle. And the Chapter 100 is one I think I would support. The rest of them are all just about the same. I mean, if you don't have a good sales tax base of a lot of people, a population, none of them, whether it's a CID or a TIF or those type of things, are going to work well. I mean, they can work, but it depends on the terms and things like that. The TDDs are good because, am I done? Oh, okay.
Let's go this way.
It's interesting. We spent probably a number of years since I've been back with broad brushstrokes. TIDs, TDDs, CIDs. Let me get that up, Mr. Cotton. And it's an interesting development process, how we think about this, how we apply critical analytical skills to it. And my answer in the paper was, how do we take an economic entrepreneurial thought process and coordinate it with our civic-minded, I gotta go to work for 10 hours, come home, feed myself, feed my kids, get them to school, blah. I mean, how do we do this? How do we put the two together? It's very difficult. At the same time, how do we get people in homes? How do we do that? Which is more important? How do we bring businesses to town? But how do we get people into homes to, as David very well put, how do we expand on a broad tax base? The people that go to Sutherland's, the people that go to Price Chopper, how do we get new people into town? It's very interesting. So we're going to have to think through this very carefully. 353s, that's a topic that's going to come up, I'm sure. TADs, TDDs, CIDs. But really, in the end, it's a very, very critical formula for growth, but it also has to be coupled to ordinary home ownership. And how do we get that more involved in our broad-based tax development process? Thanks.
There are a lot of there are a lot of instruments to help new people coming into town. There's CIDs, there's TIPs, there's tax abatement, I'm sure that there's an awful lot that I still don't understand or know about. And I look forward to learning about those things. What I do know is that when people come to town to start a business, that many times, most of the time, especially with the small businesses, they need help. And they need help to get started. They need help from us, from the city council, from the citizens, from you all out there. I don't think there's a way that I can say I would prefer this over this over this. What I have to say to you is I would take each case individually. I would look at their needs. I would learn about the different instruments, and then you would try to match an instrument to their needs. And so, basically, I can't answer the question and tell you I know which one is right, because they're all going to be just a little bit different.
This is kind of a touchy subject with me because I don't believe in carpetbaggers. When we had the war between the states and all the carpetbaggers come to the South, and they were making money and taking it out, and that didn't work. And I don't believe in the credit card mentality of buying now and not worrying about paying for it. And this has been a little bit of a problem. I think each one of these situations is going to have to be looked at, and will we be able to pay for it? Will we be able to pay for it in a timely manner?